Hello and welcome to the Footy with Fletch podcast. I am Fletch Fraser. In episode 5 of the Footy with Fletch podcast, my special guest is former Richmond Tigers superstar Ben Griffiths. Ben Griffiths played 63 games for the Tigers between 2010 and 2017, kicking 42 goals. In 2018, despite having 1 year left on his contract, Ben decided to retire from AFL football, having a scholarship at the South Carolina College to pursue his dream of playing American college football as a punter. Hello, Ben.
Fletch, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's a nice night over here in America, so no complaints.
Yeah, it's pretty cold in Australia.
Yeah, you guys are in winter now, aren't you?
Yeah, we definitely are. So, who would have had the greatest influence on your AFL career, Ben?
I think when I was younger, one of my old coaches at Eastern Rangers, Hutto, definitely had a really strong influence on my career, especially as a junior. And then I had a few teachers at school too, Mr. Bird and Mr. Abrahams, who really helped me with the study side of things and helped me see kind of the importance of both sport and academics. And then, when I got to Richmond and I was fortunate enough to spend some time there, Choco Williams and Dustin Leppitsch really had a strong influence on my career.
Yeah, they're all some very influential people. What was it like to work with Justin Leppitsch and Mark Choco Williams?
Awesome. I remember there was one pre-season I spent a lot of time with Choco, and he really helped me grow a lot very quickly in my game. And then Leppa is just a wealth of knowledge, and particularly with the one-on-one competitive side of stuff. I know that he's surely had a really positive influence on a lot of players that have gone through Richmond and been fortunate enough to work with him.
Yeah, they are two fantastic coaches. Who would have been the top 5 teammates that you were lucky enough to play with at Richmond?
Oh, that's a great question. I was very lucky to play with a lot of very good teammates and a lot of very good blokes. So I would say, this is a tough question, Fletch. Rancy, Dave Asprey, Dylan Grimes, Shane Edwards, and who else? Probably Ivan Maric. They've been my 5 top. I feel bad because I've had to cull a few really good people. Yeah,
it would have been a very hard question to answer because there are a lot of great players at Richmond. What was a week in the life like as a Richmond player?
I guess it changed a lot from when I got drafted to when I finished up there. When I first got drafted in 2009, we were doing 5-day a week plus Saturday morning pre-seasons, which now is they have the mandatory day off throughout the week that goes throughout the whole pre-season. So it changed, but from when I finished up, it was during the season. We'd go in Monday, you'd have a review, you'd have a few meetings with your line coaches, and then you'd be doing some active recovery, maybe a little bit of weights, depending on when your next game is. Tuesday would be kind of a lighter ball sort of session with, again, weights and some meetings as well. Wednesday would be a day off. Thursday would be very similar structure to Tuesday. Just the intensity of training was a bit greater, and the duration of the session was longer as well. And then Friday, if we're playing a Saturday game, would be a very light kind of run-through session, tick off the final kind of KPIs for the game with your line coaches and set some goals and that sort of stuff. So it can be a very taxing time during the season, both mentally and physically.
Yeah, I can imagine that. How did you cope with the media commitments of being an AFL footballer?
Well, I suppose I was fortunate enough to not sort of gain as much attention as some of my other teammates. So, I mean, when you've got guys like Dustin Martin and Trent Conchin, Jack Rewhite on your team, they're obviously going to wear a lot of the brunt with when it comes to media stuff. So, I think I still have to do it. And the club is very good at giving development opportunities for the younger players to learn how to handle themselves in front of a camera and to deal with maybe some hard questions that they might not be sure of how to answer. So, I mean, the club, it comes back on the club and their investment into the players and educating them on how to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like they were fantastic with that. Would have there been any players in your career that you feared to play against?
Well, so there was a couple of years there where I was playing down back. So, yeah, the thought of playing on Buddy Franklin was pretty daunting, I'll be honest with you, Fletch. But, lucky enough I had Rancy on my team, so I think he had to cop that matchup. And as we know, that's been one of the good matchups for the ages. So, but in saying that, I still have to play on Roughhead, which is definitely a challenging task. And then as a forward, you're playing on some pretty quality backmen. I mean, you struggle to find a team that hasn't got a really good key back. So I'm not sure if fearing them is a good word. But yeah, definitely going to some games, it's more of a challenge. But you kind of learn to apply yourself better. Attack.
They definitely are some of the greats in the AFL. What would have been the toughest challenge that you faced in your AFL career?
Good question. I think early days it was kind of growing up, and I think when you leave school as an 18-year-old, I look back now and think, geez, I was really immature. So I suppose those first kind of 2 or 3 development years were pretty challenging. And then, I suppose the constant battle to stay on the top of your game can be pretty demanding, and obviously physically it's pretty hard. And I suffered a few injuries early on, which kind of set me back a little bit, and dealing with them, particularly some shoulder stuff, was very challenging early on.
Yeah, injuries are definitely a bad part of football. So you had your fair share of concussions. What do you sort of think that the AFL were good in handling your concussions and Richmond in general?
Yeah, Richmond was fantastic, mate. What they did for me was beyond what they needed to do, and to ensure that I could get back to not only playing but being myself again and functioning normally as a human. So, the support they showed from the playing group to the admin and the coaches and football department was unbelievable. And they're fortunate enough to be able to have the availability of some pretty good resources. So I was fortunate enough to be in their hands, and I was very lucky to be in their hands too.
Yeah, they were very good in handling your injuries. What would have been the most memorable moment in your AFL career?
That's a hard question. Of the 2017 grand final, unbelievable day. Obviously bittersweet, but when you run onto the field at the end of the game and you see your mates how happy they are, and having played just even if it's a small part in it, it's still something to hold on to and something really special to be a part of, and to be a part of that culture at Richmond was a period of time that I'll never forget.
Yeah, that is fantastic. You sort of had a tough time when you were at Richmond. They were sort of down the bottom of the ladder, I guess, in your years, and you sort of saw the rise up the ladder. What was it like to be a part of the rise of the Richmond Football Club?
Yeah, it's as you mentioned, when I got drafted, I think in my first year we won 5 games. And I was fortunate enough to be part of all those 5 games. But you meet a lot of different people, and a lot of people float through the club. And I think the path that we took was particularly special because I think 8 years in football is a long time, and for Dimmer to come in and change the culture, and then you have Brendan Gale and Peggy O'Neill who are at the helm and set some pretty ambitious goals for the club that maybe some people doubted when they first came out. I think the belief that they showed in the group, the investment they made in the players, and particularly off-field development, and ensuring that the club is a family-friendly club, one that involves from the players to administration and football department is connected as one. I think it really reflects in the way that the players play. And from the time I left to the time I started, it was 2 very different clubs.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting to be a part of that. Like you said, Damien Hardwick, Brendan Gale and Peggy O'Neill are all greats of the Richmond Football Club's rebuild. What would have it been like when Sam Lloyd kicked the match-winning goal against the Swans after the siren, after you kicked the ball to him?
Oh, yeah, this is probably going back to your question about the best moment in football. This would have been right up there along with the 2017 grand final. But it's a feeling that's hard to describe, Fletch. I mean, when I kicked it to him, I knew there wasn't long left in the game, but I didn't know how little time there was. But when the siren went, Lloydie's obviously a great shot at goal. So I was kind of really sort of calm and never really doubted that he would miss it. But I mean, when you see the ball go through, and I think there was a lot contributing to that game. We'd kind of been down the first few weeks and been kicked in the media a bit. So to come out and beat a pretty highly ranked Sydney Swans at the time was it's just an amazing kind of feeling, particularly when it's done in that kind of fashion, and one of your good mates is kicking a goal after the siren to win by a point.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic thing to be a part of. Was it hard to walk away from the Richmond Football Club with 1 year left on your contract to play American college football?
It was particularly hard because I knew that I was leaving a lot behind, and leaving some pretty good mates at the club, and I was coming off a year where the club had invested a lot into me, and but in saying that, I had to kind of step back and take a look from a long-term perspective, and I gained a lot of that perspective from dealing with the concussion stuff in 2017, and really thinking about what have I got outside of football, and what do I want to do beyond sport? If I left sport today, what would I have? And ultimately, the opportunity to firstly come over here and play a different sport at a really high level, whilst attaining a college degree, for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. So it was really challenging to leave my friends and my teammates at home, but I mean, I had to kind of look at it from a selfish standpoint and an investment into my own future.
Yeah, it would have been a difficult time. But how has it been to be a punter in American football in California?
Unreal experience, mate. Playing a whole different sport. running far less, which is not overly good for my skin folds. But I've managed to try and keep my weight not too bad. But it's been an awesome experience, mate. Getting a different cultural perspective and living in a different country, meeting different people, made a stack of new friends that I would never have met had I not done that. So I think it's just helping me grow as a person and yeah, gaining this life experience of being able to live in a different country and study and get a degree and to do it in Southern California with such a prestigious history and yeah, it's something that I hold very close and I'm extremely grateful for. So I'm really trying to maximise my time over here, which is, I guess, why doing this COVID kind of quarantine period's been so challenging because I just want to be around my teammates and working out, getting stronger, getting better with them, and preparing for a season. But no complaints from my end, Fletch. It's been an unreal experience.
Yeah, it seems like it has been a fantastic life experience for you. So you touched on COVID-19. How has it been living in America with COVID-19 and the other issues that America are currently facing?
It's been unprecedented is probably the best word, and I mean it's been thrown out in the media a lot, but it's kind of the only word that fits what's happening at the moment. I think, firstly, with the COVID side of things, when it kind of first reared its head, I wasn't really sure how serious to take it, and then the NBA kind of shut down because a couple of players got it, and then I think it was 2 days later we got told, all right, we've got to move off campus. There's going to be no spring ball, which is kind of like a pre-season for the football. So yeah, they got cancelled, and then it timed up with spring break. So I'd actually booked flights to come back to Australia to see my family because my older sister has just had a baby, and I had to cancel them, unfortunately. And I've been living in Oregon with my girl and her parents. So yeah, it's been really challenging, mate. It's just trying to find a routine and stay in that and keep on top of study as well. It's been pretty hard. And then obviously now with the racism stuff that's happening and all the protests, I mean, it's really sad that it's got to this point over here, and I think Australia's not immune to it, and we have our own issues. So I think it's we're living through a time where there's going to be a cultural shift, and it's for the better. And yeah, it's just a shame that it's taken so long for it to happen.
Yeah, they are really difficult times. How has the preparation for American college football differed from your preparation for AFL matches?
So AFL was very endurance based. So the preparation for that sort of stuff is you're investing a lot of time into conditioning and that sort of things. Obviously, you game plan a lot for the mental kind of IQ sort of knowledge of the game. So over here, it's been very different because I've had to kind of refocus and readjust my focus for training. Whereas now we invest a lot of time into strength and conditioning, so trying to get stronger in the gym, less of a focus on running, and then obviously coming into a new game as well, I need to learn it as fast as possible, and just working heaps with my coaches to try and learn how this game works, and at the same time trying to fine tune my craft, and that's kicking. So when you think about it, it seems really easy, but there's a lot of different factors when it comes to kicking a spiral. It's a bit different to kicking a drop punt.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a challenge, but I mean, I just try and get better every day and make it a positive every day to ensure that I keep growing and keep getting better.
Yeah. How long has it taken you to get a hang of the college football in America?
It was hard because when I came over, I really thought I was going to come in, step straight into the first game and have a really big impact on the game. And kind of what you're saying. It took a few matches to kind of get my head around the flow of a game, how my role plays into that. And then I may only kick it 4 or 5 times a game. So a lot of it is the mental side of stuff and making sure that I'm still switched on and still ready to go whenever I need to go. There are plenty of times in a game where it might be 3rd down and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to go on here. What am I going to kick? Well, where am I on the field? Where do I need to kick it to? How high do I have to kick it and how long do I have to kick it so my coverage players can get down and protect the ball. So, yeah, and then after thinking all of that, our quarterback, Keaton, will come out and just throw an unbelievable pass and it'll be 1st down and I can go back to relaxing. So it's been really, really fun kind of applying myself in a very different way.
Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic experience. How has the atmosphere at college football in America with the crowds compared to running out onto the MCG?
I wish I could plant what's in my head right now, just like, and you could feel the emotion of it all. It's almost like a show, like a performance, and the atmosphere of the band. You have the cheerleaders, and then we have Traveller, the horse that rides around the field, slapping it up with the people in the crowd. So really kind of showman atmosphere. And I mean, the Trojan band is unbelievable, like the noise they make, and very different because at AFL games, they kind of get into the match and the crowd might just kind of start booing or calling ball when there's been a nice tackle and the umpire hasn't called anything yet. So, yeah, it's different in a really kind of fun way.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like it has been different. So with no sport being played in America currently, have you been still watching the AFL?
I've watched a few games. I caught the GWS North Melbourne game last week. Obviously, with the time difference, it's hard to tune in to the Richmond games because they always get the night slot. So the games are on about 3 a.m. where I am. And I value my sleep just a little bit too much. So I just check the scores in the morning sometime.
Yeah, that is fantastic. It was a great game last week between GWS and North Melbourne. So what has it been like to sort of watch Dustin Martin develop as an AFL footballer?
I was lucky enough to get drafted with him, so I kind of spent my whole career with him. And clearly from the start, he was always super talented. And to watch him kind of mature and become a leader at Richmond in the way that he applies himself and his preparation, I think it's an awesome example of just applying yourself and setting yourself goals of what you want to achieve and what kind of player you want to be. And I mean, yeah, to be able to say that I played with Dustin Martin is one of the greatest claims I'll ever be able to make, I reckon.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the greats of the AFL. So if you were given the chance to play AFL football again, would you take up that opportunity?
Oh, geez. I'm getting pretty old now, so I'm not sure my body would be able to hold up. I mean, if I got an opportunity to play NFL, I'd probably jump on that before playing AFL again. But I suppose if I have a crack over here and things don't work out and someone comes calling, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So have you seen any NFL players that were former AFL players?
Yeah, so Aaron Sipos, who was playing at the Saints, he's now got a gig with the Detroit Lions, which is awesome for him, and unreal for Australians as well, like in general. That maybe sitting at home thinking, geez, I might want to give this a crack one day. And that's how I felt when I saw Australians over here playing like Big Sav Rocker and Ben Graham and Darren Bennett and those kind of guys. And my old coach, Chappie from Pro Kick, has been a real big influence. And I think it's awesome. And then we have Cam Johnson, who's at Philly. He was at Melbourne for a year, rookie. And yeah, he's got a cannon, mate. So yeah, it's awesome to kind of see those guys and be able to connect with them over here and form a small little support network.
Yeah, that is really important that you're keeping in contact with those former AFL players. So do you still keep in touch with AFL players from Richmond?
Yeah, I still talk to my mates from back home. Keep in touch. Grimesy was getting stuck into me the other week about the way I do my ticks. So, I have to give him a bit of a ribbon back. But, I try and stay in contact, mate. Obviously, I formed some really good friendships back there. And I guess we're lucky to live in a period of time where we have a lot of technology at our fingertips and we can stay in touch pretty frequently.
Yeah, that is really fantastic as well. And Grimesy seems like he's a funny player and a funny guy. So who would have been the funniest player that you would have got to play with at Richmond?
Geez. We had some funny guys floating around there, but the one who made me laugh the most was probably Rancy. He gave me belly laughs like no one else did. He did some pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, Rancy definitely is a funny player and person as well. So thank you very much, Ben, for your time today. It's been great to speak to you on the Footy with Fletch podcast.
My pleasure, Fletch. Thank you very much for having me.
All good. All the best.
Thank you.
Now, thank you to Ben Griffiths for being my guest on the Footy with Fletch podcast. It was great fun to talk with you. Stay tuned for episode 6 of the Footy with Fletch podcast, and goodbye for now.